Welcome to Home Fires, a series of conversations with Edel Assanti artists, unraveling the thoughts, process and research behind a recent work or exhibition. My name's Francesca Gavin and I'm speaking to Vinca Petersen to coincide with her exhibition, Raves and Riots. Let's start at the beginning. Do you want to tell me about how you started taking photographs?
It's a bit of a classic case of my dad took a lot of photographs and photographed the family. We lived in lots of different countries, so I was sort of always surrounded by sort of cameras. I was probably, before spelling age, so yeah, a long time.
You fell into the scene that you documented quite young as well. You were like 17. You want to tell me about how you kind of discovered it, because it was really underground.
Through a boy. I was at school. I was at school in town, but lived in a little village, and it was so boring. I was bored out of my mind. At 17, I went to London with him, and we didn't have any money or anywhere to live. So we got the Squatter's Handbook, I think, or he knew about that, and we broke into a house and turned it into a little squat of our own. Suddenly I became aware of this like sort of community in this scene of like all the network of squats in London. I was kind of home. It was all the community, the village, the people, the fun, the kind of craziness that I had like been looking for.
The scene that you were in was actually very political, or at least let's say gave birth to a lot of politics, whether that was like Reclaim the Streets kind of emerged from it, or they were very, very centrally intertwined with what happened with the criminal justice bill. What did the political side of that whole entire world appeal to you, and like how do you think it emerges in your work?
It was a sort of gradual awakening. I was really young, and you're quite self-centered at that age, I think, unless you have very politicized parents or mentors, which I didn't. So first and foremost for me, again, it was the community and that connection, and then I started hearing these conversations and then about the politics and about what people, the greater mission, free parties, freedom, all that stuff. You were just like arriving in fields and someone would turn up with these speakers and you were just kind of having fun, right? And then, policemen started turning up, at the next party. And then within months, there were full riot police wherever you went, and they were, blocking the roads, and the whole thing became cat and mouse. You would like climbing over fences and going across fields. And of course I was like, this is full on. This is like a battle.
There's some amazing images in the exhibition of like exactly demonstrating that, like large groups of riot police and like young girls basically confronting them.
Riot cop kiss is me getting my friend to ask a riot copper to give her a kiss, and I do it all the time, and they never do, and this one did, and I was like, yes, because of course then all his mates were looking at him going, what the f are you doing that for? And he was like totally like, oh my god, what did I do that for? The girl dressed in pink as well in front of the line of riot cops. It was a beautiful moment of this sort of wall of riot police thinking that they had all the power, and she's a tiny girl and she dressed in pink and she's just having a real go at them. She's just shouting at them and pointing at them.
Can I ask you how the book came to happen? So it was 98 it was published. Steidl published it. That's like, let's say, the most respected photographic publisher. I'm curious how that actually manifested.
I worked with a filmmaker called Mark Stasi, who was making little kind of music videos for MTV and stuff. So I started working with him, and then on his shoots, a woman called Corinne Day was styling and just hanging out, and it was his wife. And I went to her flat and I said, Corinne, look, I want to make 10 photo albums, one for each of the sound systems that I know, just to be able to give them a family photo album. So, that the way of giving the photos back. She just very calmly kind of said, oh, just come and meet this guy, go and meet this guy, Michael Mack. He said, I'm going to work with this guy Steidl. So we're doing we're working together. So we went over to meet Steidl. I remember sitting in meetings with them, and one of the last meetings, like Michael sort of had his head in his hands like that, because I was just saying, no, it needs to be bigger than that. And I basically said it had to be £9.99 because I knew that anyone could get together a tenner. So it was like almost free. And Steidler originally said, yeah, it can be about that big and about 80 pages for that. And in the end, it was like 180 pages and that big. And he did it for love.
The 90s was such a focus on that kind of freedom. Maybe it needed a space of time before it could make sense again.
About 4 years ago, everything suddenly just sort of became coherent in as far as my art was concerned. I went to art college actually when my son was 2, and that kind of confused me a bit. I realized I wasn't like a maker. I formed something called the Future Youth Project, which was it was a response to reading about Joseph Beuys' idea of social sculpture. So instead of sculpting objects, you sculpt people or situations. And I thought, gosh, this was really like the rave scene and it fits in. So I suddenly was kind of like, oh, right, I see what I'm doing here. And at exactly the same time, you know, a lot more people started noticing the work, like you say, it had matured and it's the distance, you know. And I say this to young photographers all the time. I say, do your work, put it away, don't edit it, don't judge it, don't look at it, you know, don't throw any of it away and look back. You know, in 2 years it'll be interesting, and 3 years it'll be wow, and like 10 years it'll be great.
Vinca, I think that's gonna probably sum up a nice introduction to your work. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I mean, introduction's the word. We could go on for hours, couldn't we? Thanks so much, Francesca.